Hi folks, and welcome to The Salty Seaman, continuing on my series of Tales from the Fleet. Now we're up to part 2, which is getting into boot camp. I haven't decided how long I'm going to go with this, so I don't know how many parts boot camp will be. So I'll just keep saying what I remember up until I think it's a good time to cut off, and then if we have to go on to a second or third part, we will. That being said, let's pick up where we left off. My recruiter picked me up from my house. I had a very small bag of toiletries, and that's about it. I was told not to bring anything, which of course you shouldn't. And took a 3-hour ride down to the Little Rock Military Entrance Processing Station, or MEPS. And of course, on the way down, I was the only guy he had for that day, and you know, he was giving me advice about the Navy, about boot camp, and you know, I think I listened and was, you know, I did, but if I remember the conversation, it wasn't a lot. I think there was a lot of silence. I don't know if I was contemplating or I was still just trying to keep out of my head what was about to happen, but you know, we had some discussions, and that's about it. He dropped me off at the MEPS, and basically, I believe you just check in, and I think you sign a couple documents, and then they take you to your hotel. This is around mid-afternoon going into evening. I met my roommate. When you're at MEPS, you're assigned a roommate usually. You don't get your own room. Military is not that nice to you, even as a DEP poolee, what have you. There's a guy, lanky kind of tall guy. I was going in National Guard, so he was on his way to Army boot, or basic as they call it. And yeah, we got along just fine. I think we went out to eat, and then we came back to the room in the evening and decided to watch some movies. I even remember the movies I watched. You know, it's that era of my life is so crystal clear in my head. You know, from that moment of joining up until you know, first few days of boot camp. And we decided, yeah, we both had heard great things about this movie, Pulp Fiction, and we decided to rent that on the what was it called? Starvision, Cablevision. You know what I'm talking about. Vision, something Vision. They used to be at the hotels. Usually people rent a lot of porn from it. But we didn't rent any porn. We rented Pulp Fiction, and of course the movie is amazing. Near 3 hours. Starting to get a little late, but we decided to, what the hell, why don't we rent another one? So we rented Die Hard 3. And yeah, pretty good movie. Also has if you see them back to back, you realize there's a subtle tie between the two movies, and I'm not talking Bruce Willis or Samuel L. Jackson. So if you know what I'm talking about, leave a comment on the video. See if you guess what I'm talking about, or you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, it was cool just to see a little bit of some movies and a little bit of media before, you know, you're going through boot camp and you don't see anything. But at the same time, also, it was bad for sleep. And if you watch my tips for boot camp, you know, I really focused on how much sleep you should get before you go. And this is advice I did not follow for myself because I didn't really know it. You know, we finished Die Hard, you know, maybe around midnight. I probably fell asleep around 12:30 or whatever, and our wake-up call was at 4:30. We got up and showered and, you know, went down for a continental breakfast and then headed over to MEPS for the last time. So I've got about 4 hours sleep at this point. And we do our final, you know, everything that morning. We sign a bunch more paperwork, and you know, I think I don't know if the final weigh-in and height measure was the day before that day, but regardless, you know, got through all that, and then you raise your hand for the final time, and boom, I was officially a member of the United States Navy. In fact, they immediately put us to work. We had to go move some chairs since we were now officially working for Uncle Sam. They asked us, all the new recruits, to go move some chairs from one room to a storage room, I think, or something. And then we waited around a little while longer, and they cut everyone orders. There was only 3 guys going in the Navy for that day from MEPS. I think the majority of everyone there was Army. And, you know, just 3 of us, and their names were Adam Crow and James Polk. You know, so surprised I remember them today. They were in my boot camp division, of course, but you I've forgotten a lot of names from boot camp at this point, but I definitely remember those 21 years later. And yeah, we took a bus to a van, the MEPS van, to Little Rock Airport. We hung out for a couple hours. We were all smokers, so we were smoking cigarettes outside. One of the guys' girlfriend came with her friend, and they hung out with us for a while. And then we hopped on our plane. It was this was my first indication, bureaucracy of the military and maybe the government in general is kind of screwed up. Because if you know your geography, Little Rock is almost directly south of Chicago, and there's definitely a lot of direct flights from Little Rock to O'Hare. But we took a connecting flight to Dallas, Fort Worth. So immediately it did not make sense to me, but I was like, okay. And we got on, and one of them, I believe it was Crow, had never flew before, and this was a little two-prop puddle jumper, and he was just white-knuckling it the entire time. I'd never been on a puddle jumper myself. I don't know about Poke, but it didn't really bother either one of us. But I don't think Crow really liked heights very much, and being his first flight, and it was, how those things move, it's kind of jumpy at times. So that was fun, just us kind of giggling at him, kind of being a big pussy about it. So we landed in Dallas Fort Worth. It was a couple hours layover. So again, we went outside, and I think we've finally finished out. If we didn't finish all our cigarettes there, I think we finished the last one or two in O'Hare. And then we got on a bigger like jumbo jet. By this point, it was getting late evening. The flight to O'Hare, I did catch, 30, 45 minutes of, interrupted sleep, as you will on flight. But I got a little bit of winks in there. This would be my last I'd see for a long time. So we landed in O'Hare, and I think that probably been the last couple cigarettes we smoked, stepped outside. When it was easier to do that back in the 90s. Opposed now we have to go through security in and out all the time to do that kind of thing. You could just there was a place to go outside. And we went to I believe the USO place. That's where we were told to go. And we met a bunch of, which I guess would be our division, or most of them, and people from our brother division. I think some others are coming on other buses, but there were definitely faces I remember from that O'Hare that I would know through boot camp. So a little African American guy from New York named James, who was always a cut up, and that was the first thing he was doing. One of some of the chiefs and petty officers, I guess, from the base showed up to drive us over. And I don't think he was an RDC, but he was, trying to keep us in line. We're technically in, but we're still a bunch of civilians with hair and beards and whatnot and civvies, and he's trying to get us to be quiet and get in some kind of line. And he was a short Filipino, I think, chief, and I don't know what that means at that point. And James is already cracking on him and imitating his accent, and that was James. And I saw a lot more of that for the next 2 months. So we got on the bus from O'Hare to Great Lakes, and there's a lot of kind of talking to each other, some nervous laughter and jokes and whatnot, and asking where I was from. Kind of quiet and nervous, and then we get on base, and then they drop us off at processing. That's that's definitely the first point where we really got yelled at, because they told us to get in a bunch of lines, and we couldn't do it, of course, fast or well enough, because of course we can't. And they start yelling and screaming at us, and it's like, oh boy, here we go. I remember that was my exact thought. Of course, I know boot camp, I know you get yelled at, so it wasn't exactly a complete surprise, but yeah, there we were. So we get in, and they allow you to make your last phone call before God knows when. And it's really late at home at this point. My parents were very early to bed people, but my mom did get up and told her I was there safe, and I'd call her when I could, and that was kind of it. And next thing, we were moved on, and it takes a while, because it's back then it was a phone bank. I think now they do it with you bring your own cell phone, before they confiscate it, and then everyone makes their last call in a hallway, from what I've seen. Back then, it was a bank of payphones, and it took a good chunk of time. There's just so many of us, and then the first thing they do is take us in, and they're basically showing you they're basically getting your dog tags without the actual dog tag on it. It's just the chain, and you put your keys to your lockers on them. And they're giving very, very exacting instructions, which was just so, I don't know, I'm so tired and I'm so overwhelmed. I'm trying to follow it so exactly so I don't fuck it up. I mean, it's a simple process. It's, those little ball clasp things, and I've done it 100 times, but I don't realize at the time. It's like, yeah, you just clip the thing together, and I'm screwing it up, and like everyone's getting done, and they're starting to get mad at us, the people who aren't figured it out yet. And finally I just kind of mash it in and realize last minute, oh shit, that's just a stupid ball chain thing. Why did that give me so much trouble? So I was one of the last few to finish, and I think the very last guy is probably McDougal. Talk about him later. I was the last guy to finish, and he got, berated for being an idiot. I believe the person doing this was one of my future RDCs, OTA-1 Bordley. So a short African from the Caribbean female. God, she couldn't have been 5'1". But all like that, and until I really got to know them, deeper into P days, I didn't really realize who was there yelling at us that first night, because I was just so tired, and those first 2 days were such a blur. But I'm pretty sure that was her. And then from that point on, we go on to initial issue. Basically, what you're going to wear for about the next week. You get your skivvies, which is your underwear. I believe they're Fruit of the Loom tighty whities. At the time I wore briefs, so I didn't care. But there are definitely guys there who wore boxers or nothing at all, who are very upset that they're told to have to wear this for the next 2 months. So you got your initial set of underwear, about a week's worth, white T-shirt to go with it. 2 sets of athletic shorts and T-shirt. It was a ring T-shirt, blue ring with blue, white T-shirt with a giant N on it, looked like the Naval Academy logo. And 2 sets of what they call silkies. I think most services have. Ours are blue. They're like little short shorts. And we were told, like, yeah, you will wear these under your clothes at all times. Like, along with your tighty whities, you're wearing the silkies over it, and then your dungarees or sweats or whatever will also be over that. Like, that was the rule. So we got 2 sets of those. We got the sweats again with the giant Naval Academy looking N on it. No hoodie. It was the top was not a hoodie with the front pockets. It was just a sweatshirt and a pair of sweatpants, which I believe did not have any pockets either. Like, this is 95, so. And then, athletic socks, and I believe the black socks. And a pair of shoes. Now, this is the one choice you had. You could choose Nikes or New Balance. I chose the New Balance. And then we got to a big old room, and he took all your civilian belongings, and they went through and inspected it. And they were, your toiletries, they had to, even those they had to inspect to see what you could keep, what you couldn't. I was told I had to lose my deodorant because it was alcohol based, and I guess much like prison, you get anything alcohol based, people try to get fucked up on it in the past. So I was not allowed to keep my Gillette or whatever it was gel deodorant. Kept my razor. I had to keep my razor. I didn't have to go buy a bunch of disposables. And I didn't bring really anything else. Like, I just didn't figure. Like, I knew they'd give me soap and shampoo, so like at the hotel I used the ones in the hotel. So I really didn't have a lot. So basically, I got to keep my razor. And then everything else you had to go. And then you got to change into your clothes. It's plain white T-shirt. Tighty whities, athletic white socks, silkies, the sweatsuit, and your shoes, and you had about 30 seconds. I definitely know there was a female in the room. This is why I kind of think it was Bordley, because she had to turn around while we did it. Now, I was I'm pretty good at getting undressed and redressed, as I found out at that moment, and I've always been a guy who could throw his uniform on and get ready to go in a moment's notice. You know, that saved my ass from being UA many times. And yeah, some guys couldn't. To the point that where, you know, they said time and Bordley turned around, there was one guy butt-ass naked. It was the funniest fucking thing, because it was just like, not only are you not finished dressed, but how do you not have any clothes on at this point? Like, what were you wearing that was so complicated that you were just to the point of nakedness after 30 seconds? So she starts yelling, and then the other RDCs start swarming in, yelling at him, and then she slowly turns back around, and we're all trying to hide a snigger because they're yelling at us for snickering about it. And yeah, after everyone got dressed, and then we put all our shit that had to go back into a box. We put our names on it, and they kept the boxes. We were going to mail them out the next day. All the stuff they'd issued us, I think there was other shit. You know, we put in our, they were basically just the laundry netting bags, and you're going to carry it over to the Smurf Hotel. Now, if you don't know what that means, Smurf Hotel is basically where new recruits fresh off the bus go to until they go to their permanent quarters. You know, a lot of times, back then at least, you know, your future compartment ship on your ship might not be ready for you. Like the last division is moving out, or they got a day or so left, and you're going to stay at the hotel until they clear out. So it's a temporary barracks, basically. Now, the point is here is we had taken, you know, I don't know if it was normal, or I kind of think they were actually running behind. Like, it was just, there was some snafu, I think, in the whole process, but of course they're not going to tell us that. If it was, it's all our fault because we took too long. But they'd be kind of telling us, it's like, hey, if you want to at least get even an hour of fucking sleep, get your shit in gear so you can go drop your shit off, crash out for an hour, and then we're going to wake you up at like ungodly 4:30 or whatever, and go to breakfast and then start over the next day. But regardless, like, yeah, we marched, I don't know exactly how far it was, but it felt like forever. And this is basically our first time trying to march, and they're not really expecting us to march like in perfection, but they gave us the basics of stand here, this is a height line, you know, start with the left foot and just count, someone needs to yell out a 1, 2, and just keep in time with that. And so it's, you know, you can imagine clusterfuck, bumble, shoot city, bunch of guys in sweats, not even got our first haircut yet, big old net bag full of crap slung over our shoulders, and it was a long way. It might have felt even longer just because we were tired and the bag got heavier and heavier. But Jesus Christ, I couldn't wait to put that thing down when we finally got to our destination, the good old Smurf Hotel. And of course, it was too late to even give us 30 minutes, I think. We got there a little after, either right at 4 or a little after 4, and they basically said, no, we're not even going to let you crash out for 10 winks. You know, put your shit down. I think they issued us initial linen and bedding too, and it was just kind of like, just throw it on a bunk, and you know, everyone Roger back up, and then they marched us to Chow. That was our first Navy Chow. You know, we're looking 5 o'clock in the morning when we got there. Again, if you've been through recently, I mean, you know, a decade or so, fairly recently. Everything's kind of combined in one ship. Back then, you got to realize, since the start of RDC as a boot camp and up and through the 2000s sometime, everything was just fuck far apart. Like, they just never consolidated everything, and just so the chow halls and the ships and the training places and the drill halls, everything was a march. And we used to, you know, the Navy had one of the main reasons they changed it wasn't because it made sense. It was just because they kept having stress fractures because we marched so much. We marched more than the Marines. That's a fucking fact. Just because everything was so far apart. And you're marching in those big fucking clunky steel toe boots, and you're on your feet all the fucking time. These people are getting their feet fucking broken. I ended up with feet problem myself a little bit there, and we'll get to that too. So yeah, we get to the chow hall, and of course it's the first time, and then it's kind of our first time really seeing other recruits, because we came in at night and no one else was really around. That was like the guys working their service week, something else they don't do anymore. I'll talk about service week later, but anyway, there's service, there's a week back then you worked at the chow hall. And some lucky people got to work other places, but the majority of your division would work at a chow hall. For your old timers, tell me, yes, I know these used to be called companies and you had company commanders, but they just changed it when I came in. They were divisions and recruit training commanders, RDCs. So, and they don't say sir, you say petty officer chief. So yeah, it was the first time seeing them, and of course they're feeling like the big kids on campus because they've been in for 4.5, 5 weeks. They're looking at these guys who were just like them a month ago, but it's so long. You got to realize how a long month that is. I mean, they really felt like, they'd been through some shit, and here we were, no idea what's going on. Of course, they knew we're new because we don't have haircuts yet, and we got 5 o'clock shadows and whatnot. And they're kind of, we can hear them talking, like, oh, look, the new guys, blah blah blah. They don't, a couple are being nice, like, hey guys, it's like this is how this works, blah blah blah, and they're working us through. But we're hearing all the chatter. Like, yeah, wait till they do this, wait till they do that. And then we got our food, and I don't remember what my first breakfast was, but I'm sure it was awful. They mostly were, unless you found the good box of cereal, which I got in trouble for at one point. Again, another story. So, and then we don't have a lot, of course, they never give you enough time to eat. And I'm also a fast eater. I wasn't good at a ton of things at boot camp. I wasn't the worst at anything, but I surely wasn't great. But I could get dressed fucking fast, and I eat fast, and I always have ate fast. And there were guys who just did not understand the concept of you got 2 minutes left to eat, and they're just still half the tray there, and they were just, a lot of times those guys would just go hungry for a long time until they learned to try to pack it away quick. And I'm sure we left from there and went to do some other stuff, the basic first day processing. So around the time you figure out, boot camp is not 8 weeks either. It is 9 weeks. The first week doesn't count. First week is what they call P days or Smurf days. I remember I mentioned back before we called the Smurf Hotel, and the new guys are called Smurfs because you're wearing the blue sweatsuit, and that's all you wear for a week. And as far as I know, that thing never got fucking washed the whole time I was there, and we wore it straight for the first fucking week. It's kind of gross, to be honest. But yeah, they measure. I think the next day we got measured out for our dungarees. But yeah, those have to be tailored and washed and then sent back. So it was a while before it was a week before we got them back. But before that, we went back to a processing building to do more paperwork. You think you'd be done with paperwork at this point, but P days, you do a whole week more of medical tests and all this other shit. A lot of it felt like a repeat from MEPS, but you had to redo it, do it all over again. Oh, and I left out, we got piss tested also. That was another time sink. We got piss tested when we first came in. I think they do it now at MEPS, but back then you did when you walked in, and that was a big time sink, and there was a chief in there yelling at all these guys standing at urinals trying to pee in cups. Luckily I'm not a shy bladder, so I managed to get mine out, but that was our drug test. But anyways, going back to this, yeah, we did more paperwork and processing shit, and then we got into a classroom. It took all morning, and we got to a classroom, and our box of belongings we sent home. We fill out the address and whatnot and tape it up, and we give them. There's a bunch of civilian ladies who were leading us through it. Their RDCs or whoever else were nowhere in sight, so they'd gone off to do something else. So basically we finished that, and we had 20 minutes before they were supposed to come pick us up for lunch. And of course we were I was definitely exhausted by this point. And it's definitely one of the weirder things that happened to me in boot camp at this point. We had this nice civilian lady said, hey, your RDCs are coming back in 20 minutes. So we have nothing else for you to do, so put your head down on your desk and try to grab something, because it's probably the few times you're going to get to do this. It's not after taps. And yeah, I put my head down, and that's the last thing I remember before waking up pretty much in front of the chow hall again. I don't remember them waking us up and putting us in a line and marching to the chow hall. It literally was, I just kind of came to on my feet, and there I was, and then it was lunchtime. And that's just a weird fucking feeling. And then we did lunch, and I think that's when we went on to our initial issue of dungarees, getting fitted for them and finding out our sizes. I think they'd yell at us, don't get a boner while the ladies are, because we're sitting there in, I think, silkies. Like, don't get a boner when the ladies measuring you, like a bunch of little Asian ladies, if I remember. And if you do, you're going to get kicked out and all this shit. I don't know. One thing I remember was looking for my my sweatshirt, like, the entire time. And I'm barely coherent at this point. I'm so fucking tired. And I've been yelled at for a day so straight. And I also forgot, like, they also give you your Navy, like, they didn't give a recruit ball cap, they gave you the straight Navy ball cap. And I lost both of them, the cap and the sweatshirt, like, as we were moving, like, in these steel chairs, folding chairs, as we're going down and getting fitted, and they're giving us all this information, and yeah, I don't know what, and I finally found my cap, and then, like, I could not find my sweatshirt, and I'm spending, like, this whole time, and it's been hours, and of course I'm just not together enough to figure out what the fuck it is, but luckily there's no one there to yell at me for, like, why am I running around. I'm basically checking everybody's sweatshirts that are sitting on chairs to try to figure out which one's mine, because we had put our initials in, like, the little tag on the back. That was the only marking at that point. We hadn't got our we hadn't stenciled them yet. So yeah, I eventually either had found mine at the end, or I grabbed one that wasn't marked. I don't remember, but, like, yeah, I finally had my sweatshirt by the end, and I think we went to dinner after that, and I think we had some stuff after dinner. I don't really, that's this is where it starts getting hazy. But we went back. Oh no, okay, I do remember what happened that night, because I don't remember what happened between dinner and getting back there. But it was. Did we get our haircuts that day? That might have been what it is. I might be getting some of this out of order, but regardless, I'll tell the haircut story. I'll roll that into next. But I do remember the first night, because we finally got back and they finally let us sleep. And when you're in P days, you're basically, the normal boot camp, you get up at 5. We were getting up at 4 because we had so much shit to do. And, we don't know, they don't tell us anything about standing watches. There's no logbook, but they still want you to have a watch. So we finally get back after this, and I have not slept in over 2 days, and it's been stressful and tiring. And I'm just, like, dead to the world. And they tell us, basically put a bottom sheet on and on your bunk and, sleep. But someone needs to be on watch, and you guys figure it out amongst yourselves how you're going to do the watch. Who's taking the first one. And luckily there's always some dumbass who's just who volunteers, and he's like, yeah, I'll do it. I don't know who he was, but, God bless him, because I wasn't going to fucking volunteer. I'm like, fuck that, I'm going to sleep. So what ended up happening was basically the way they decided it was anytime someone got up to go to the bathroom, he became the new watch. Because whoever was on watch would just assign it to him. This falls apart about 2 a.m. because no one else is getting up to go pee. So the last guy at 1 a.m. or whatever, he just was waiting around and waiting, and there was nobody. And I don't know if he tried to wake someone else up to take it, but whatever, he just went to bed. He said, fuck it, I'm not staying up here for the rest of the time. And the command duty officer for the Smurf Hotel came through, and he just, woke us all up. And I was, of course, in a dead fucking sleep at 2 a.m., And, we all get yelled at, and someone else had to take the watch for the next 2 hours or whatever. And, thank God it wasn't me. And then we went back to sleep for the next 2 hours, and woke up and did some more processing. I think it's enough for now. Like, I think most of my memories of the rest of processing, they're not as crystal clear as that very first couple days, even with the haziness of my lack of sleep. So I'll go through that, but I think I'll start hitting highlights after this one. More, it might take another 2 episodes to get through it for boot camp, for just trying to remember everything interesting that happened through boot camp. But hope you guys like this. This was just, I'm kind of recording this for my own sake while I still have crystal clear memory on this. Future use, and I hope some people can relate, or people joining, a little warning. Obviously boot camp's different now, but I don't think it's that different. And people who are just interested in just how it is just to first get in. And I think I really undersold, just how much I was being yelled and being stressed out at, because anytime you did the slightest fuck up, of course you're getting yelled at. But I think I don't remember a lot of that because I was just so, the first few days I was walking in a dream. I was so fucking tired. But that's going to be it for this edition. Probably try to do another one next week, so tune in for that if you're interested. Got another military movie bullshit I'm going to crank out at some point here. G.I. Jane. So that's about all I got, and I'll see you on the flip side, guys. Peace.